can't stop. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going. Can't lose focus. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going.
Red Corner Boxing. We're in the game.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Red Corner Boxing. This show is called Defying the Odds. But before we get to that, this show is sponsored by EasyStorage.com for all your local and nationwide needs. And Boxing Fight Zone, our boxing merchandise and apparel partners. Thank you very much to them. All the links are in the bio. Well, in boxing, home advantage means everything. The crowd, the judges, the odds stacked against you. But sometimes a fighter crosses borders, walks into hostile territory and refuses to accept the script. This is Defying the Odds, the stories of British boxers who travelled abroad, written off before the first bell and came home as legends. Tonight we focus on two of Britain's very, very best. One man shocked the world in Atlantic City, a fearless southpaw who dethroned an undisputed champion and changed British boxing forever. And the other silenced the California arena, stepping up in levels, challenging an unbeaten start in his own backyard and producing a career-defining performance. That was Kell Brook. Well, my co-host is the boxing man. Welcome, sir. Mate, how excited were we for this?
Mate, I've been buzzing. We've been talking all week, haven't we? And even last night, mate, I was up late with the dog watching. There it is. Look, I was up late with the dog making notes. Super excited for this, and even if we don't get any immediate interaction tonight as we're live, if people can put things in the comments, because we as you know, mate, we're more than happy to hear difference in opinions, get viewpoints. So I encourage everybody to get after us so that we can make these shows successful.
Absolutely. I mean, there'll be people who remember the first fight that we're going to preview tonight. I was there. Young man, there's going to be plenty of the viewers who were there. Remember with fond memories this night we're about to showcase. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, the fans have to know how British boxing was to be feared and renowned on the world stage, and it was forgotten men. And as this show and this series comes over time, there'll be boxers I've never heard of him. Oh my God, how did he do that? Amazing stuff, defying the odds.
Tonight we're showing, in my opinion, obviously the first fight that we're gonna preview is the segue in. There couldn't be anybody that defied the odds more than the first fight. So it's a great start for the show.
Absolutely. Great shot. Now, if you remember episode 1, which was last week, we just did a feature on Dalton Smith, didn't we? And then you said to me, let's make this weekly. I said, right, let's do it. I'll, get a thumb done and we'll get this, get it going. And we got a full hour on this and we can explore.
We're also, Mr. Neutral, we're also happy, obviously, today it's British boxers and maybe it isn't in other episodes, but we're also happy to talk about other people going into other backyards and upsetting it, foreign soil and all that type of stuff. It's just, we are, even doing it last night, I loved every minute of going back and rewatching stuff. So as boxing fans, we're excited to hear your thoughts and hear your big upsets and defying the odd stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Get them comments in there. What fights you'd like us to feature later on in the series. It's boundless, isn't it? But as tonight, we are starting off with a couple of Brits in the welterweight division. And the one we're going to start off with is the one and only Mr. Lloyd Honeyghan up against the undisputed welterweight champion in 1986 that was one Mr. Cobra, the Lone Star Cobra, Donald Curry. Now, fantastic opportunity for Lloyd Honeyghan up against the IBF, WBA, WBC and Ring Magazine champion Donald Curry. I mean, it was an absolutely huge mountain to climb in levels for Lloyd Honeyghan. But the man was fearless. Anyway, he'd shown multiple examples of his talent, his grit, his determination, his work ethic. He's a beast in the gym. Mickey Duff or Terry Lawless, can't remember which one of them,
Mickey
said
Duff.
said he was the hardest working boxer he'd ever seen, and he done the shots against Donald Curry. Many Americans, Brett, including British commentators and pundits, never give him a chance. Tell them why.
Obviously at the time Curry was regarded as pound for pound, wasn't he? He was regarded as
number one.
Yeah, and so what I noticed going back and rewatching this, Mickey Duff and him were both like eerily confident going into the fight. And so as much as maybe the nation writ him off, and definitely the world boxing for sure writ him off, because we were talking about this special beast, this one that they were putting on a poster. And it's almost like it's quite patronizing even in the commentary, mate, where they're saying, oh yeah, the Brits will have a go, won't they? They'll have a go. And they didn't expect to see what happened. And like I say, ultimately, this shocked the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, he was British, Commonwealth and European champion at the time. It's a pathway that is not respected enough in America. And, look, let me give you an example of just how much of a chance that he had, according to the bookies. They refused to give odds on Lloyd Honeyghan. Such was how much this fight was going to be a canter for Donald Curry, which, as usual, as the Americans, in my opinion, there's nothing against them. They got this default setting that they're the elite of the game, and this default setting where no one else has got a chance on home ground. And ordinarily we've seen examples where fighters have gone to America and only to be punished by the judges. So home advantage is everything. Along with a beating crowd that will maybe influence a judge at some point, if not all through the fight. But if you look at the pathway that Lloyd Honeyghan had, it was great. And I can go to records, there was clues as to how well he'd do before he fought Donald Curry. And that was the fact that, he'd gone to America, forsaken his titles to go and look for that world title shot. And he stopped Horace Shufford in round 8 at Wembley Arena to earn that shot in America against Donald Curry. Again, the Curry team accepted, the fight. And, Honeyghan got his shot. But they were never expecting what was about to unfold.
Their team was shell-shocked. The commentary team was shell-shocked. And like I say, up until the third round, they were still very, very patronizing, almost going like, oh, Curry's gonna come into his own in a minute. This British boy's having a go. But you wait what's around the corner. And Honeyghan just completely ripped up the script. And I know we're going to delve in the series, but there's going to be a lot of fights that we're going to cover that we're in the build-up, and it'll be funny to find the clips. It'll be funny to find the clips where fighters have said, this will be the biggest shock since Honeyghan. And it's used as a phrase. If so many fighters that have gone into backyards always use this fight as the one where they say this is going to be the biggest shock since Lloyd Honeyghan.
Yeah. Funny enough, funny you should say that, because Lloyd Honeyghan shares one record with another Brit in this respect. Randy Tuppen, when he upset the odds against Sugar Ray Robinson.
Yeah.
we'll probably cover that at some
Yeah,
point as
for
well.
sure. For sure.
So this, and incidentally, these are the only two gentlemen that have actually lost the title and won it back.
Yeah.
The very next fight. So the only two gents to hold that record from Britain. Right. Now let's talk a little bit about Donald Curry. Now, I mean, before that, I mean, people say that, you know, who did Lloyd Honeyghan beat? You know, on that shot. I hate that phrase.
Yeah.
When fans come out, oh, who's he beat? Who's he beat? You know, he beat a future two-time world champion in the run-up to the you know, the Don Curry fight in Morris Blocker. He beat an ex-W 140 super lightweight champion in Johnny Bumphus. He then beat Gene Hatcher, who beat Johnny Bumphus to take that title off him.
Yeah.
So he done, you know, and he's worked his way up, and Senchenko as well, which is a great win. To give him that, you know, another great choice. Not Senchenko, it's Sylvester Mitty. Senchenko was Kell Brook. So, you know, he done his way up there, and the Americans again do not do their research at the time.
No.
They just didn't fancy 32-0 with 22 knockouts.
Yeah.
32-0 Lloyd Honeyghan.
Yeah.
Don Curry had, you know, 25-0, 17 knockouts.
Was it 20 knockouts? I thought it was 20 knockouts. It
was 20 knockouts. Yeah. So, you know, at that point, you know, he had no chance, a zero chance.
No, nobody gave him a chance.
I remember Reg Gottridge and my man Jim Watt absolutely shell-shocked at the end of the fight. Don Curry, 25-0, 19 knockouts at the time, 20. He finished with a record of 34-6-0, former undisputed, unbeaten, for 6 years since his debut. Pound for pound number one at the time. Sugar Ray Leonard had his, you know, is one of his favorites, and even Mike Trainer, Sugar Ray Leonard's lawyer, then went on to work with Don Curry. You know, he'd done it all. He'd won the, in fact, well, he'd done it all. You see, he won the WBC title against Milton McCrory, great win. He beat Junsak Hwang to win the WE. And by September, he was booked to face, you know, his mandatory Lloyd Honeyghan in that year. But there was a story leading up to this fight, which was not in favor of Donald Curry. In the run up to the fight previous, he changed trainers, he changed his manager, and on top of that, he was 16 pound overweight with 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
And fight week, 24 hours before the weigh-in, he's 11 pound overweight. He just wasn't shifting the weight, you know, until the very last 24 hours, and he had to shift that 11 pound. He managed it, and the fight was on. However, it was well noted that he was going into this fight weight train. But you know, part of that fault of that was him going up to light middleweight 2 fights previous, and then coming back to welterweight.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Very difficult. And again, you know, they knew nothing of Lloyd Honeyghan, didn't do any research, took him for granted. You know, any other trainer, promoter, manager, you know, your guys just drenched 11 pound in a 24-hour. I know Chris Eubank Jr. done it, but back then, that was even considered more dangerous. You know,
yeah, because there's a
prospect to check. You know, in defending a belt is undisputed.
There's right or wrong, like these UFC fighters. At least there is terrible, but at least there is science behind it now. So they know how to get the electrolytes in. They know how to get certain things in. So like this was like dangerous, and I think obviously with someone like him at the time, they just thought that this Brit was coming over. And him on his worst day still had enough to beat this lad from England.
Absolutely. California was the location. You know, you're from that neck of the woods, time zone wise.
Yeah.
Fill out 8 hours behind. You had to acclimatise. But again, supremely confident. And
So
it's, you
confident.
know, it was this confidence, and in our second feature we would do, it was this confidence that won them ultimately, these fights. Fantastic stuff. Now, Lloyd Honeyghan had trainer issues as well and manager issues, didn't he, Brett?
Yeah.
Just before this fight.
Yeah.
He had.
Go on,
On you
mate.
go.
Go on, you go ahead.
Yeah, he'd split with Terry Lawless,
Was
who
that his first fight with Mickey Duff then?
this was his first fight with Mickey Duff and
Wow.
Bobby Neal. Bobby
Wow.
Neal is Scottish super featherweight champion back in the day, was his trainer. And it was after the, I think it was after maybe the Sylvester Mickey fight up into the Shufford fight, not the fight pre. So it was when he won the Commonwealth title, Honeyghan split from Terry Lawless because he felt that he was spending most of his time with Frank Bruno.
Right.
And, he wasn't giving him the time. So that split, he signed with Mickey Duff. Ironically, Terry Lawless and Mickey Duff worked together years later in the 90s. So it just goes to show you, but you couldn't have a big fight without Terry Lawless. It just wasn't going to happen. If you thought Matcham McQueensby had the grip on British boxing, forget it, because they were up and coming. They were the Ben Shaloms of the day.
Yeah.
Both Frank and Eddie. His dad. Both Frank and his dad were the Ben Shaloms of the day, compared to Terry Lawless. Mickey Duff then separated, from Honeyghan later on, but. It was a great partnership to win that undisputed Bobby Neal and Terry Lawless. And it proved, because they brought Horace Shufford over to Wembley Arena in the May of 1986. And after that fight, the fight was signed with Don Curry and his team to go to California 3 months later and make that fight. So he had straight back into camp, acclimatized to the conditions, supremely confident, and unbeknown to him, he's up against maybe a weight-drained Don Curry.
Yeah. But even, obviously, we're about to delve real deep into it now and just get the final bits out of this, is that the game plan was so ballsy from them. Was so ballsy because Curry's a banger at this point, isn't he? He's a knockout merchant, really, with 20 knockouts from 25 fights. And Honeyghan got to work from the first bell, straight on the front foot. No steps back, and I'm walking him down. So even in a short period of time of coming in and out of camps and trainers and managers and stuff like that, they saw something in the pre-build up. They saw something for sure. They did.
Well, 7 straight knockouts. He was going into it, but as I said, he had two fights at light middleweight after retaining his titles against Colin Jones in 1985, and that's where many people will point back to where he went wrong. He fought James Green and Pablo Baez in the space of 3 months at light middleweight. Then came back in December of the same year against Milton McCrory to retain his WB and IBF welterweight titles. However, he won the WBC and the vacant ring welterweight titles at the same time. So that Milton McCrory knockout in the second round, people will think, oh, he's back, and quite rightly so. But because in the March 4 months later, he's knocked out Eduardo Rodriguez to retain his title. However, he struggled to make weight against Rodriguez and Milton McCrory. And then hence, when he come to fighting Lloyd Honeyghan, he was struggling again, only this time it was worse and exacerbated by the death of his grandfather 6 weeks before the fight. So these declines were going by unnoticed to the boxing world. And by the time this fight was over, shell-shocked was not the word. People were eating hats, eating words, eating everything they've ever thought they knew about boxing went into the trash can.
Listen, mate,
unbelievable stuff.
Obviously, we're going to roll the tape and let some of these younger viewers see what's what. But anybody out there that can't fail to appreciate Mr. Neutral's knowledge on the game, that's a lesson, and this is what these series is going to be about, like educating people behind the background. Because if you really love the sport and you want to know where it's come from, I've had 15 minutes there being educated myself, and it's a pleasure to be on this show with you, mate.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't prepared for that. Thank you very much indeed, mate. It's just, just sheer memory, brings back memories, you know, these kind of fights. More recent fights, I don't remember as well as I do these fights. Even with 30 years difference, this is where you come in and bring your side of that passion to it. Right, we're going to roll the tape for this one now. This is Lloyd Honeyghan versus Don Curry. It's 5 minutes of highlights, and what it will highlight for me is how Lloyd dominated this man who's
with clean punches. There's the reflexes of a cat. He can actually do everything.
There you go. There's the stats.
15 by KO. Honeyghan. Defeated 25-0, 20 by KO. The Lone Star Power.
3 fights in Britain, but he's kept it short, as relaxed as you would expect for such a big event as this one. Proved mobile, as manager Mickey Duff has been saying, that he's tough.
Facing a man people are hailing as a superstar.
For the Jim Honeyghan, isn't he?
Yes.
It's the second round.
He has to work hard to do it, but he keeps doing it.
He hurt Curry.
Impression, Jim?
Yeah, he gives the impression that as though he's...
What I admire about Honeyghan is, so in Curry's corner there, the title in '83, but he took the count in that. So there's Honeyghan now, as I say, also and a
very prevalent round here.
He can afford to at this stage with that punch going in. Trapped him.
That was a perfect right-hand punch.
Hand of Honeyghan, can he do it again?
That's the punch that's good.
Oh, trying it again, Honeyghan, right at the end of the round. There's why the Mexican referee,
as you see, Honeyghan's a very good boxer.
That's a perfect shot. Very surprised that Curry didn't go, but he managed it.
Honeyghan had to be held off by the referee almost.
Well, Curry looks like the
Honeyghan was always first to the punch in a lot of these rounds. Some good counters now and then from Curry, but there was something wrong that people were not seeing Donald Curry fight this way. They were assuming something's wrong.
But he came back well with a left hook there, Honeyghan. Shots coming in from Curry. That was a good spell from the champion there.
That's the main thing.
of a scheduled 12 for the world.
Honeyghan starts to put the pressure on here from round 4.
Honeyghan certainly listening to the advice of the...
Yeah, well, see, I think the big difference, Honeyghan's going into...
Well, certainly so.
But Curry at all times is looking for big shots.
Been weaving Honeyghan the whole time now, trying to stay away from him. If he can just keep...
He reckoned that the fight was pretty close after 6 rounds.
So coming out for the 5th, and Curry remained on the best to pump confidence into Honeyghan in between.
Oh, big right there.
Curry know what caught him there again. Going to say the century, but certainly close to it, Jim.
Now he's got Curry backing up. People have never seen this before.
No way has Curry been in trouble in any of his fights as he is in
this round for Honeyghan. He's never made a mistake. He's never taken a decent punch and returned back. A good left hook from Curry, but
and I think for a change, in fact not for a change, for the first time it is right hand coming in.
yeah, bang on the button. And
Now for the 6th, just getting some of
Big
the water
punch
off,
there.
Honeyghan.
This is a big round.
everything's going his way. He's only...
Well, Artur Rodriguez, a tough man.
A few British fans there, they're going mental.
Shouldn't really wipe it away with his hand.
This is Atlantic City.
Dictated the last 2 rounds anyway, and he started off well enough as well. He's just got to have that professional's care of
Been punching the chin all night long.
Start to put that pressure on. Look at that combination. He's done in by
Another
this
doctor
point.
coming in as we look at the replay there. At an end of a fight, as you will with that one.
And he waved it off.
Incredible, because that is one
There
of
you
the
go.
Decision or verdict may be cut-eye decision, but
to beat this fellow Curry like that, and it's a pleasure to say you're wrong under those.
see, here we go again.
See that
Donald Curry didn't have any much argument after the fight about, the cut. Yeah, it was just one of them things. But he did say at the end of round 6, I'm through, I'm done. And he didn't come out of that, regardless of the cut anyway. He was drained after the fight. He was taken to hospital with some dehydration issues. But you can't take anything away from that performance from Lloyd Honeyghan. Rather much like Dalton Smith, he took the fight to the bully.
Yeah.
And
Broke him down. He broke him down. And maybe with the education that you've given with the losing weight on the day of and stuff like that, or the night before, maybe the team got a hold of that information, and that's why they fought the game plan that they did, because he was relentless, and his 1-2s were just constant, trigger, bap, 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 bap.
Pop, pop.
And then he was holding him as well, some clever little bit of holding in there.
Oh yeah,
which if you drain, that's going to have an effect on you. But listen, mate, what a start that we've just had there in terms of the title of Defying the Odds. I don't think there's any more to be said other than, like I said, this guy paves the way for a lot of fighters in his era moving forward. He was the one that they all looked up to. I'm gonna be like Honeyghan. So many fighters have said it since.
absolutely. Undisputed champion. Can you imagine it? I can't remember if we ever had one before Donald Curry. In the 3-belt area, never mind the 4-belt or the 2-belt era. But it was one of them. I remember watching and going, "Oh, come on! What gets in your beauty? You've done it."
Yeah.
And many people couldn't see it, the destruction. But, and thought it was over far too easy. They couldn't understand it. But, the internal punishment coupled with, let's give him, his flowers. Donald Curry wasn't 100%. He was going through a lot mentally as well. with his personal problems with his family. He was having trainer and manager issues in that year. I'm not giving the man excuses, but it was an explanation as to things, how it went downhill for Donald Curry. We can see after that loss to Lloyd Honeyghan, it's not meant to be, but he did go in spats. He was a two-time world champion. However, when he challenged Mike McCallum for the light middleweight title 2 years later, it didn't end well. Mike McCallum absolutely destroyed him. And he was never the same after that, Donald Curry.
Yeah.
Never the same. It's always that one victory. You're flying high, aren't you? You're on the crest of that wave, that coming into the beach, man. But as all waves, they come to an end, don't they? When they hit that beach.
The worst thing you can do to a fighter is put self-doubt in their mind. And if you've never, it doesn't matter. Like these fighters, mate, these fighters that are 22-0 and they've fought nobody, they've never lost. They don't know what losing is. So the moment you stick it on them and you put it about them, now all of a sudden they're questioning themselves because now they're tasting defeat. And obviously that's what happened to his career after that. He tasted defeat, and yeah, he'd have some on nights, but then again, this once great that was being touted about has obviously derailed his career. And we've seen that in time and time again, haven't we, mate? When they take that first L, we've seen people come back, but we've also seen there's nights where they start to doubt themselves again.
Yeah. Very quickly to close off this one, Lloyd Honeyghan did make 3 defenses of his title. Wasn't a fluke, and before succumbing, can't remember who it was now. So much from Hoagie Vaca, that's right. That was stopped by an accidental head clash, and Vaca was up on the cards. However, Lloyd did get his revenge, becoming a 2-time world champion after losing his belt. Only the second welterweight ever to do that, behind Randy Tuppen. So he got his revenge by 3rd round knockout. Retained his title for one fight, and then lost to Marlon Starling, which was when the tides reversed, because Marlon Starling, Lloyd Honeyghan, beaten twice previously. So not Marlon Starling, Donald Curry had beaten twice previously. So them triangle theories just don't work out, do they? But a great career, Lloyd Honeyghan, a great ambassador. Bit of a playboy, but he always took his boxing seriously, and what a trainer he was in the gym. So that's the end of that. Lloyd Honeyghan, undisputed welterweight champion, 1986. Now we move on to 2014, and over to you, the boxing man.
Yeah, well, I'm actually really excited about this one because I'm a big fan of Kell Brooks. I always say, well, I get shot down for it, but I don't care. I get shot down all the time, mate. That's why we put ourselves out there, innit? But I get shot down for the fact that I say Kell Brook, I don't believe, fulfilled how talented he was. And that's a bit harsh, because look at the career he's had. You can talk about the Khan fight coming too late, all stuff like that. But at the time of this fight, Shawn Porter was a killer, and nobody expected Kell Brook to do it. I mean, you even when you watch this fight back, you even sit and look at Eddie in the crowd with his dad, and they look nervous, and Porter was on this destruction mode of wanting to take on anything and everybody. And him and his dad have got a formidable relationship. Even at that point, like, you can just see he's locked into his dad. But it wasn't to be for them that night. And Kell went over there and certainly defied the odds on American soil at a time where this guy was going to be the next American hope. Kell Brook went over there with a few fans and did the nation proud.
Absolutely. Shawn Porter, eventually a two-time world champion. He was 24-0-1 with 15 knockouts at the time. Again, one of the highest rated, boxers in America. This is just before he shined, he was known as Showtime, Shawn Porter. Look, he won the IBF off Devin Alexander in revenge from the amateur days, tremendous amateur days. NABF and NABO champion. That got him into that shot to fight with Alexander. And then came into the fight with Kell Brook. Again, another example of not researching your opponent. Kell Brook, Shawn Porter admitted after the fight, didn't know anything about him.
Yeah. They massively
kept getting fed was, don't worry, champ, you deal with him. He's no good.
Yeah,
and when Kell, and when Eddie Hunt was walking through the hotel and seen Shawn Porter, he's got that smirk, isn't he, Eddie? Shawn Porter he's bewitched. Why is he so confident and all the rest of it? That's what I seen afterwards. Just a wee funny anecdote, to go with that. But look, it just goes to show you, doesn't it? They just were not given a chance
with this fight. They obviously underestimated him. But you've got a master skilled boxer at this point that we think in the UK anyway. We're living through the fact that you can see glimpses of Naz in him. You can see that Winkerbank style. He's a likable fighter in here. He don't come across as the smartest in the interviews. In his career, he got better and better, by the way. But early on, it was just like this lovable Brit that's doing his best. And then he goes there and puts on an absolute clinic. And I tell you now, I enjoyed every moment of going back and watching it again last night. And I back Jams up on this. That this is one of my favorite fights too, for the fact that he was so written off going into this wrecking ball that no one gave him a hope. And I tell you as well, I dare say, more British boxing fans of today's age has gone back and watched this because they didn't even stay up and watch it at the time because they thought it was a walkover. If you think about it, mate, no one even, the people that I speak to, they go like, the boxing heads over in North America, they go, oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, it wasn't like a glamorous fight that everyone was staying up for to tune into. And then most people, I say, that love the sport have gone back and watched it because the boxing IQ on Kell, and I've always said this, the boxing IQ was full in show in terms of head movement, in terms of the counter punching was unbelievable. Because the wrecking ball was coming forward and the counter punching, step back, fade, bang, turn the corner, get back on your jab, get back on your jab. And I tell you what, he did very, very well here that Shawn Porter was not expecting, being a bully. Him tying him up was unbelievable. The amount of times, mate, that he went underneath and grabbed his arm like that, and Porter's trying to wrestle him, and he's making it awkward for him. Then he gets frustrated and runs at him. Kell step back again, boom, 1-2, turn the corner. Just magnificent. As you can tell, I'm quite passionate about this one, mate.
Yeah. On hindsight, do you feel that his style was made for Kell?
It's a great question because I think his timing was off with his wrecking ball, and whether Kell made his timing come off, which I think he did. I just think it was Kell's night, and everything that they were planning came to the forefront. I mean, if I was going back last night and listening to some of the tactics from Dominic Ingle, had a brilliant night that one night, by the way. Dominic Ingle, absolutely unbelievable training in the corner. Calm down. Yes, you're enjoying yourself, aren't you? Stroking the back of his neck. You're enjoying yourself, aren't you? Hey, big smiles on their face. Kell's smiling back at him, going, it's not as big as they think he is he? Like that. And they're smiling. They go back up, pop. So yeah, maybe his style was made for Kell. But any real wrecking ball can find their way out of that. It's just that Kell's timing and his timing were on two different planets that night.
Let's go back to this confidence that Kell Brook was exuding even in Atlantic City. As I said, Eddie come in, all smiles. He's already had enough Shawn Porter, and Kell Brook was going around the place as if he owned the gaff.
Yeah.
It was tremendous confidence.
Well, let me tell you where I think that comes from. That's again having the O and coming from the Winkerbank breeding. They breed confidence. You walk in that gym and they all believe. Brendan's still around at this point as well, isn't he? Brendan's like a mentor. Brendan's a mentor.
Advisor.
Yeah. He's a mentor and advisor on the shoulder. And he's gone in there going, I've never tasted the O. And I know I've got superior boxing skills. Yeah, let's go. And then after, so he goes in there with confidence, and then the confidence grows when he gets into round. Of course, Porter had his rounds, didn't he? Porter absolutely had his rounds. I don't know how one judge gives it a draw though, but at the same time, that confidence was bred in those fighters from that Winkerbank gym, especially the ones they've had from babies, The ones that they've had from babies, they've all that confidence. Think about Johnny Nelson. I know he lost his first fight, but the confidence, the swagger that he had.
Yeah, Nazim.
Ryan Rhodes, Nazim, all these fighters had so much confidence.
What do you think was the catalyst for this confidence, this swagger? From this gym, there's something must have been the catalyst.
Brendan's the pioneer. Let me tell you, for this type of stuff, back in the day, there's only ever going to be one Muhammad Ali that could predict. Think about it, that could predict all his fights, and everyone would be like, "Oh, Ali." Any other fighter that'd say that, they'd be arrogant. They'd be this, that'd be the other. Whereas Brendan, once he got older fighters like Naz, and he changed his methods around finding somebody like Naz, and he the confidence was, we do it different to anybody else, and nobody can beat us. And if you don't sign up to that, you're not right for my gym. You sign up to knowing that we are the best. Even if you hear the rumors about they only ever body sparred. I mean, I don't know if I overly believe that, but allegedly. I've read a couple of things, and it says that it was body spar only. Just the confidence comes from Brendan, and you listen to the interviews that Brendan did about all of his fighters. Never was there a fight that they weren't going into that they didn't think they could win. And of course, all trainers will do that, and all managers and promoters.
But it's more like a motto, wasn't it?
That's exactly the phrase I'm looking for, mate. The motto of that gym was, "No one's better than us, and we don't care where they're from."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it was this confidence, wasn't arrogant by any stretch. He was polite. He was, warm to the fans that he was there, but he did not go around that place looking at the floor. He looked, like a every inch a champion. And boy, wasn't he just, and he promised beforehand he was going to win.
Yeah,
he said when I looked in his eyes at the weigh-in, I looked straight down his soul, and I knew then I was going to be the new IBF champion. Kell Brook won the 2008. In 2008, won the British title versus DAZN's very own Barry Jones.
yeah.
To win that vacant title. Won the WBO Intercontinental, WBA, Intercontinental IBF. 4 straight knockouts before Porter, including Carson Jones, Alvaro Robles, Saldiva, who was 41-2-0 at the time, and Senchenko, who was the ex-WBA champion. All these were clues as to the rise of Kell Brook, were they not, Brett?
Yeah, they were, mate. But I'll tell you that he wasn't great against Carson Jones or Zinchenko. He was subpar, and I feel like with him, he had to. Obviously, the Gennady Golovkin ruined him, and we'll go into that.
We'll talk about that, yeah.
And towards the end maybe, but Kell had to be up for it. Kell had to be up for it, because if he thought he was going to walk over somebody, it wasn't the same fighter. And I think, once he got that shot at Shawn Porter, he was going to show the world, and that's what Kell needed. And I almost feel like, again, I don't care who says it, fight too late, whatever. He knew he needed to be up for the Amir Khan fight, even though it was at the end of their careers and they were both done. He was in sensational conditioning, and he was up for it. And when there was a Kell Brook that was up for it, I almost feel like you might shoot me down here, but I don't feel like he was even up for it against Crawford. I really don't. I think he took money. I think he took the money there.
Yeah, he knew by then that his mojo gone.
Yeah,
at that point.
And Khan brought it back for that fight. But obviously, let's stay on this fight. I'm really looking forward to seeing the tape back again on this. But when we do look back on the tape, just look for his counter punching. His counter.
We will do. We will do. Just before that, these were the purses: $200,000 to Kell Brook, $500,000 to Shawn Porter. No rematch was signed. It was very strange. This is how much the Americans don't rate the Brits. However, Matchroom. I get the feeling, when I look back now, this was just like Dalton Smith versus Subriel Matthias, in the sense that Matchroom unveiled Dalton Smith rather much in the same way they unveiled Kell Brook.
Yeah.
And it's very much the same way. They come with that confidence, that unbeaten record, that mystique, if you like. That you're all right. You've got to know, but who have you fought?
Yeah, exactly.
That mentality, and this is where the Americans go wrong. Who have you fought? Well, if you looked at Kell Brook, it's quite an impressive resume at championship level. You see how many championship fights he's been in. It's ridiculous. And he was born for this IBF title. Right, let's get into this fight. It does go the distance, but we have shortened it down. Jams, when you're ready, sir.
We are so proud to have you with us. We hope you're enjoying the fights. Thank you and bless you for all that you do. The bell in round one, scheduled for 12 for champion Shawn Porter's IBF welterweight crown. He's in the red, white, and blue. Undefeated challenger Kell Brook in the red with gold and blue.
At a controlled, precise pace to go in there, and that's his mission.
And by the champion. Oh, now our main event between occasions never came to fruition. He's now ringside watching Shawn Porter,
who is Dominic's dad. That seems to me hurt Porter. Yeah,
see that aggressive
misses with the left.
Kell Brook has a cut on the left eye.
And now I'll let you handle that one. I'm kind of. As we get set for round number 3, I want to mention the California State Athletic Commission randomly dropped. And Alan England, the British bond,
since he's a lower fighter. Yep, a Kid Galahad who's a super bad
IBF eliminator against former WBA.
Fast, but Kell sticks with him. Yeah, I can see there another big shot from Kell. The counter.
Neither he nor Porter have been knocked down as pros as we get set for
that right hand at will almost. Porter very disdainful of Brook, saying him. We'll see if he feels that way. Larger edge, it's an important punch run.
Basic fundamentals.
A viciously fight.
And also Juan Manuel Marquez, who, by the way, that cut which was called
round. Brook keeping slick boxer from it's 1-2 combination executed by.
There you go. Slick counter. Caught him before that big lunging.
The bell in round 6. The challenger Kell Brook cut under the left eyebrow with a minute left. Porter has landed on the
bit from some of these punches. A clash of heads caused the cut with Kell Brooks. Here, the cut is caused, or it happens on the right eye of Porter. And Porter pulled him in, so Porter kind of created that action. He got the worst of it. And so now into this fight, they would go to the scorecards.
Fourth round.
Between aggressiveness and
Question is, will they be able to use the counter shot, because he can't just block. Use a three-punch combination. That's the uppercut. Very important punch for him. The left hook and the straight right. And that was toward the end of the round. That stunned Shawn posture. Kell Brook is capable of doing good work. So this is an intriguing matchup as we can.
of Kell Brook. I didn't think he was going to be.
See from the scores there that Kell Brook is
He and his camp lobbying to get Dave Paris from the UK to replace him.
Porter has thrown small detail work that
Double jet. There's a
big right hand there. Porter fell that one.
Well, I see the last couple of rounds, especially
the attack there.
into a wall, like he can't figure it out anymore.
Let him go. There's a Gelly. And a good shot there. One time nursing a shoulder injury, looking to return later this year. As we begin the channel, having one of the longest camps of his quarter before coming in the inside. Oh, there's... Oh, and a running off a TKO win and a tune-up to prepare him for this, his first shot at a champion.
shows us his unofficial
weight championship. Will it be the champion Porter, or will it be the challenger Brook, who's on the attack in the final seconds of the fight?
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Judge at ringside, Dave Paris scores them out 114 to 114, even a draw. Overruled by judges Max DeLuca, he scores them out 117 to 111. And Adelaide Bird, who scores them out 116 to 112 in favor of the winner by majority decision. And the new welterweight champion of the world, the special one, Kell Brook.
A similar celebration by Eddie Hunn there, you know, with Dalton Smith, and of course you see what it meant to team. Brook is, you know, his whole team went absolutely mental, and of course Kell himself, he believed he'd do it, and he did it, and he was supremely confident at the end of that. You know, he thought he'd won it. Where the British judge, you know, let us down, the two American judges were spot on. I had it before rounds. I know we only give you 5 minutes, but you know, the flavour of that fight was Shawn started fast, but Kell kept him at bay. There was no domination by Porter of any kind, and Kell Brook started to take control of the fight, you know, mid rounds, and was pulling away by the end of the fight. So go and have.
Do you know what was telling him that?
Yeah.
In the build up, Porter had said, "I'm going to get this kid out of here within 4 rounds." And so when you just said Kell started to pull away, he had a look at him in round 5 and 6 and went, "Why are you still here?" and then that's how, like, you're right, that's how Kell went, okay, and just took it on. And his like I said before, you know, ultimately did Kell fulfill as potential, or you know, people say he's overrated. I honestly believe on a display like that, he showed his boxing IQ. It was absolutely outstanding. That 1-2 fade, turn the corner, 1-2, like, and you know, your boxing coaches always say that always finish with your lead hand. If you noticed, even in those exchanges there, mate, he's giving him the 1-2, and as Porter's like taking the 2, he's leading again with the jab to try and set up another 1-2. Like, just magnificent performance. Everything that you want from a performance. He showed heart as well. He got tagged a few times. It's not as though he didn't get tagged. He got tagged a few times too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
yeah, the eye was
the American, you know, the American Porter was extremely shocked in is Kell's power. And it's not concussive power, but it's the power that can wobble you.
Absolutely. You know, also in round 6, there was a point where when they separated, Brook was like, "Come on, And he could just see Porter's head. You know, the eyes were not in it. You know, to want to engage in that manner and actually dominate him, he couldn't do it. And rightly so, Kell went on to become the IBF champion, and it was no fluke once again winning it. You know, Porter wanted the rematch, but it wasn't to be. He retained it against Jojo Dan, Frankie Gavin, another great boxer from these shores, and Kevin Betsier, before losing to Kennedy Golovkin at middleweight. For one, I'll never, ever understand that fight. Why
£5 million.
he was steered towards that fight.
£5 million. That's why.
So, you know, for me, that's £5 million for your retirement. However,
100%.
you know, that's your career done. You know, I would, you know, because after Golovkin, a year later, or less than a year later, he's lost, you know, his title to Errol Spence. I think the damage was done by Golovkin.
And
the weight jump, the weight strip, all of the year.
Yeah, because of what he did to, because what Golovkin did to him. Yeah. He was outstanding for the first 5 rounds against Spence. Outstanding. His game plan was beautiful against Spence. He was catching because unorthodox against Southpaw. He was catching and going over the top. He was beautiful. Then he got whacked. And then the doubts started creeping in. And then obviously, as it transpires, the other eye socket got broken and he went out on his knee. And I don't want to go into that. Let's focus on him as the overall fighter. But I do feel like the Golovkin was a serving of retirement, but he still goes on to have big fights after that.
He did. Obviously, Errol Spence is a massive fight for, you know, he was guaranteed that big fight after the Golovkin fight, obviously, for his IBF title. And he was also, you know, fighting,
well, which was a boyhood dream.
Yeah, Terence Crawford, obviously, in 2020 for that WBO title. Wasn't to be, very early in 4th round.
Changed the training team. Like Dominic didn't go with him. Dominic went with somewhere. He went with somebody else. He didn't really.
Yeah. So between, you know, 2017 and 2020, Kell, you know, was on a decline. Even though he won this, you know, WBC silver middleweight champion of Rabchenko, it still wasn't to be for him. It was a shame, really was. I just feel £5 million was not enough to stop your career. Because that's what it did. It basically halted his career for me. Jumping up 2 weight divisions, having the fight, getting knocked out, which was inevitable. I'm sorry. There was no welterweight in the world that's going to beat Kennedy Golovkin at that time. You know,
well, actually, Dominic dragged him before he probably would have been finished as a fighter. Obviously, we had an unbelievable interview with John Joe on Monday. You can't second guess these things. But if Dominic hadn't have pulled him in that fight, we could have had another story on our hands there. So
absolutely,
it was good corner work from Dominic. I mean, is it good corner work that they took the fight and they've all made millions out of it? What, like you say, is it worth it in the end? But ultimately, Dominic saved him in that fight because he was on the way to something nasty.
Yeah. Well, he boxed on for 5 more years.
Yeah.
So basically, he took £1 million a year to fight Golovkin, lose, strip a stone off, right? Between May and March, and fight Errol Spence. Sorry, between September and May in that year. It was ridiculous. It was too much to ask. And for me, sold his career short. He should have swapped that fight, and I blame Eddie Hearn. I really do.
Yeah,
but that's for another debate. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching tonight's episode 2 of Defying the Odds. Thank you to everyone who's left their comments in the chat. We see you. We appreciate you. If you are listening for the first time and watching us here at Red Corner Boxing, please give us a like and subscribe. We truly appreciate it. Hit that notification bell. And Brett, it's been an absolute great show tonight. Probably our inaugural 2-fight showstopper. Thoroughly enjoyed that, from 1986 and Lloyd Honeyghan to 2014 and Kell Brook. In the comments, please give us any examples of the boxers who defied the odds, wherever they may be. It could be a Japanese boxer. It could be a Nigerian boxer. Anywhere in the world. And he defied the odds. Let us know. Put your comments in the chat and we'll look it up. And who knows, we'll bring it to a show. But in the meantime, we'll think of 2 other examples of defying the odds for next week. Same time, Thursday, 7th o'clock next week. I think we'll
go a bit later next week,
later next week. Man here have his breakfast. Still early in the morning over in Canada. But Brett, thanks very much as my co-host for you tonight here on Red Corner. That's Defying the Odds, episode 2 done. This show was sponsored by EasyStories.com for all your local nationwide needs and of course Boxing Fight Zone. I'm Mr. Neutral. That's Mr. The Boxing Man. And we'll be seeing you next week for episode 3 of Defying the Odds, Brett style.
Let's go.
I'm moving. I'm going. I can't stop. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going. Can't lose focus. I got motion. I'm moving. I'm going.
Red Corner